Hey, welcome to the Wealth and Business Podcast. I'm so super fired up again on this episode because we had Adrian come a couple of weeks ago, to kind of share his story and the importance of, protecting your future, transferring legacy, to your loved ones, whilst you're gone. And this is a topic that people don't like to talk about. And we spoke about basically what is financial protection because he's a specialist. He helps people protect their wealth. He helps people protect, and transfer legacies onto generations, that they've left behind. So I'm just super excited to have, Adrian back again, after the first episode, to just interview him, a few things that we couldn't cover on the very first one. So man, Adrian, it's good to have you back, my brother, man.
Thank you for inviting me back.
Last time you smashed it.
I guess I did something right to be up and back. So.
Great. Obviously, last time we talked about so many things about financial protection. So for just example, for those who really forgot what financial protection is, if you don't mind, let's begin with what is financial protection again, then we'll go into the bigger conversation. That makes sense.
Yeah, so financial protection is basically protecting yourself and protecting your assets. So an example, if you have a mortgage for a house, you want to protect the mortgage on that. So if you were to unfortunately pass away, your family don't have to worry about paying the mortgage, it's cleared. So I view my job as helping people, especially property people, prevent putting the portfolio and the properties into auction. It also could be yourself, so if you have like a manual or physical job, let's say you're a builder, you break your arm or something, your income stops. So by having income protection, you're protecting yourself as the asset. You'll get income coming in.
Oh, great. So it's all about protecting your income. Yeah. What about someone who's a business analyst? So what about someone who is an IT consultant, cybersecurity? Can they protect their legacy?
Yeah, good question. So if we just start income protection, if you have an accident, you're sick or you're ill, for whatever reason, as long as you have a medical certificate, once you send that to your insurance provider, then you can get a monthly tax-free income. So again, it doesn't matter what job you do. It's kind of like basically your own private sick pay.
Great. Financial protection is large from our last conversation. So let's break it down for a minute. I'm going to use myself as an example. So I've got life insurance. I've got income protection insurance. I've got travel insurance. I've got emergency. I've got critical illness. I've got vets. I've got my eye insurance.
You got more insurance than me.
I've got my dental insurance.
Okay.
Yeah, and what else have I got now? I've got a lot of that because I spent myself and my wife.
Yep.
I've got family insurance as well, so that protects me, protect my wife, protect my kids. And I've got medical insurance, so I get to see a private. I also get to see a private doctor, and they pay all of that as well.
Can I just touch on for private medical for 2 seconds?
Please.
So NHS is great, but especially I think in London it's at capacity. So private medical basically means you get seen quicker. It's just speed, and certain things, if you go through NHS, you'll be waiting months to come back. You might not see the same doctor. If you can't make it, it might be another 3 months. So private medical is just basically get seen quicker. There are other benefits as well, but for me, it's just the speed of it. And a lot of my clients that I have, they ask for it. Like I don't even bring it up. They're like, I want private medical, because they see the need for it. I think they've had a situation going through the NHS where they haven't liked, so they waited too long, and then they come to me to help them with private medical.
Yeah. Honestly, it's big, isn't it? So for someone like myself, I spend about, I think if I'm right, for myself and my kids, my wife, I spend around about just under $450. I spend just under about $450 a month on all my insurance policy. I also have a Keyman insurance for my business.
Good.
So just an example.
Do you want to educate the audience on that? That's very important. Not a lot of people talk about that.
Yeah, I've got Keyman insurance, and Keyman insurance means my business is so reliant on me. So God forbid if something's supposed to happen to me, what is going to cost my entire organization to employ a Daniel Moses, in the business that can lead, the entire organization, and what would that cost be? So the key man insurance is basically pays for someone that's got even maybe more quality and more experience than myself as a CEO to run my organization, and that pays for that person. Should the worst stuff be.
And that's a great example. It's not just CEOs or MDs that can have key person insurance. So, for example, if you have a tech company and you've got someone who's developing an app, like they're really important, right? It could be your best salesperson. You could be losing millions if that person isn't there in this replacement. So I'm glad that you touched on that. Not a lot of people know about key person insurance. It's basically replacing someone of major importance to the business, that if they weren't here, the business might have a loss.
Absolutely. So when it comes to insurance, there's a lot of negativity, right? So because I really want to be very brutal and honest. This is our second episode, right? Diverse community sometimes just lie.
Oh, you're talking about on the application?
On the application.
Okay.
And that's the reason why they don't get paid.
Right, okay.
So I'll give you an example. Once upon a time, I had a phone insurance. I traveled abroad. I was this was many years ago, all right? Many years ago, I was ignorant, right? So I had a personal phone protection, but I went on a business trip. So when I came back, I lost my phone. So when I called the insurance company, I said, I went on a business trip. So, I can't remember where I went to, but I went on a business trip. I lost my phone. I lost my wallet. I lost basically what happened. The car that I was in got basically stolen.
Right.
And I lost everything. My wallet, my bank, everything. I lost everything. So, and because of that, my flight was also delayed. So I couldn't travel. So when I came back, it cost me so much money. So when I came back, I went to my insurance company and I said to them, this has happened, but I went on a business trip. It was about four days. Because I used the word business, I had a personal protection.
Oh.
I didn't get paid.
I wouldn't say you lie. I think that's kind of unfortunate. I thought you meant when I go through the medical application with my clients, them lying about something. So, for example, if I ask you the question, do you smoke? And you say no, and then anything happens, you're about to claim, and they see that you're a smoker, that's what I thought you meant. Like, don't lie on the medical application, basically.
Yeah. For me, that was big for me. So I was so angry. I was really, really angry. Like, I went on a business trip. Should I have lied? But I went on a personal trip. Obviously, I don't want to lie, but I didn't get paid in the end. But what did that mean to me? So what that meant for me, I have two policies now. I got personal insurance and I got business insurance.
Okay.
So should the worst happen,
Right.
if I was on a personal trip, I claim on my personal insurance. If I was on a business trip, I claim on business insurance. Whichever one the case might be. But obviously, a lot of people look at it and say, oh, you're wasting money. Why are you having to?
I think you've raised a good point, but one, thank you for being honest about it, and number two, the amount you're paying, which some people might say, oh my god, that's so much money on insurance, it's too much. But when I've spoken to a lot of people who've been in the industry for decades, they say as a rule of thumb it should be 10% of what you earn, right? So it doesn't matter if you're getting £1,000 net a month or 10,000 in net, wherever that is, that should cover everything.
Is that the tax in the Bible?
That's what
10% of your earnings.
That's what I've got told, because everyone's situation and financial circumstances is different.
Yeah.
If you just say 10% and that should do everything, then that's the rule of thumb. But yeah, I think people get so caught up on how much it costs each month, and not what that's going to do for yourself or your family, and how much the payout is going to be. And like we touched on in the last episode, putting it in trust so you're not paying 4% inheritance tax. And like you said as well, if you go out in London, it's going to be hundreds for a night out. Like, hopefully insurance isn't that.
Yeah, it's funny how the bills and all of those extracurricular activities, I'll call it, quickly add up. You can go on a nice meal with a new girlfriend and you spend about £200 on a meal.
Yeah, you're good, Daniel. And you go for your good, that's good.
Yeah, and or you can go out with the boys and you can easily turn into £1,000.
Yeah, it's a good point. I don't do that anymore.
And honestly, I've not been in a nightclub since 2014. I actually done a video, a couple of days back, and I said I've never been in a club since 2014.
Because you're too busy building an empire.
Absolutely, because it's no days off. Alright, and I'd rather invest my £1,000 into a builder that redecorated one room and one house for me, rather than going to a club to be stupid. I've done that in the past, in my 20s, or even in my 30s. So, Adrian, this is why I love second episodes, right? Because second episodes, you're literally just generically honest and chatting. It's very informal. Yeah. So yeah, what I'm trying to say is that £1,000 a year, or let's just say what, £300 a year. Do the maths. That's still very decent amount to protect yourself, your phones, your items, everything around you. You know, like it's so important to, you know, if the police regulate motor insurance and I say, okay, oh, if you don't have insurance you can't drive, and the police have to implement that, those police, you know, the police on the road, they have to actually help you implement an insurance policy that protects you, your wife, your kids, so you can transfer that way.
Yeah, good question. At the minute the answer is no. It's optional, but I don't think it's spoken about enough from
Education.
Yeah, not even that. Mortgage brokers. I'm not here to slag mortgage brokers off. I'm not doing that. IFAs to like explain the importance of it. So obviously I'm passionate about it because I've had some things in my life where, you know, someone's passed away, like we said, episode 1, and it's a madness. It's awful. And even when I bought my first property, the first property I put an offer in. When I went in, it was a really nice flat on the water in Woolwich, South London, and the sun was coming in, and it was beautiful.
Yeah.
And then I went into like, let me look around like the other rooms of the bathroom, and I'm pressing on everything, and then the power's cut, and then everything's taped over the toilet and all this other stuff. I didn't know, obviously the property had been repossessed, but I didn't know anything about property back then. So I'll go to the estate agent, like, what's up with all the lights while they're not working? It's like, you know, unfortunately something happened and now it's gone into auction. And that has always stuck with me because, number one, I loved that flat, but I felt if I got the offer accepted, I feel bad that, you know, the owner of the house, someone's, you know, put the hard money into this, and for whatever reason they're in financial difficulty, and now it's to the highest bidder. So that's why I think, for me, kind of falling into this has always stuck with me, like, that property, you know, it's a lot of time, energy and money, and then if this money's not managed right, it's going to go to someone else, really.
Wow. So in the end, right, it's, you know what you know, and what you don't know can literally wipe you off the feet.
Yeah.
So what you don't know basically can just wipe you off the feet. So how important is it for people to really get educated right now to, you know, to protect themselves, protect their families, you know, so they don't have to really be in a situation whereby just the basic medical insurance, dental insurance, optical insurance. You know, I've got like 4 of my glasses, you know, I know I don't really do luxury, but when it comes to glasses, I do spend money on my glasses. Yeah, so like if this, I remember I bought a glass for £600, I bought that glass for, and for some reason, I don't know what happened, I sat on it and it broke. And that was the day and I said, no way, okay, optical insurance now, I've got to get my glasses insured because, you know, I spent so much money for it and I don't have to spend another £600 to spend another one when it's broken. Just like your health, just like your life. Yeah. If it's gone, it's gone. If it's not protected, that means, see, there's a parable I love all the time. It says when an egg is broken from the outside, you know, life ends, but when it breaks from the inside, life begins. So which means the birth of a chick. So it's the same thing as your finances. You have to protect it so that all this hard work you have years after years after years, God forbid the worst was to happen. First of all, you run a massive business and no one protects your income as a key man policy. 2, the other part is, you know, something was to happen and you die and there is no, you know, the debt, you know, the debt you leverage on, i.e., for example, the mortgage, you know, the bank can't be possessing, you know, and the equity gets taken by the bank. Plus, they're going to release the selling word of life and just take their money out. And thirdly, you know, if you was to be so ill, you're looking for money to pay your mortgage, your rent, and because you haven't got your income protection insurance. I mean, we can go on different lists, on and on and on and on and on. So let's break this down a little bit. Why is it then important having just said what I said? Why is it so important for whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're a business person, whether you are a property investor, or whether you're even a professional. Why is it so important to seek the advice of a financial specialist just like yourself? Or rather go into the marketplace, as we said on episode number 1.
Good question. Number one, I'm specialised in it, so I've got experience in it. I'm whole of market, so I'm not tied to any one insurance provider. It depends on what's best for you. 2, I know other things such as putting it in trust and helping you do the legacy planning. That's important and it needs to be done correctly. 3, your medical questions, depending on how you answer it, is really important if you're going to get insurance or not. Some websites or some sites aren't as thorough. And then again, the family planning bit, I'm going to help you have the confidence to speak to your family about certain things, and then make sure the life insurance is in trust. If you need a will, if you need any trust for the properties as well, which is kind of it goes hand in hand with life insurance. People get confused when I say life insurance. I want to put my property in a trust, and they get confused. They're two separate things. Yeah. So life insurance obviously can protect big debts such as a mortgage. But again, the misconception is you don't need to have a property or a house to have life insurance. Anyone can get life insurance. You could be 18 and say, I want £1 million of life insurance. And you can do that if you wanted to.
So if something bad was really to happen, so does the life insurance pay for your car loans? Does it pay for any finance that you literally have?
Good question. It's up to the beneficiaries, right? So if, for example, if someone passed away, their partner and their kids, the money goes to them, and then they have the money to do what they want with. Now, the reason why life insurance is normally tied to the mortgage is because normally that's a huge debt, and the people left behind might not be able to service that debt. Especially with buy-to-let property investors where the tenants are paying the interest, you've still got that balloon payment in 25, 30 years. So you've got to make sure, can the people you're leaving behind pay that? Or again, they might have to sell the property. And that's obviously not what you want. Properties, supposed to stay with the family for generations.
So, I'm not a bearer of bad news, but let's talk about the bad news. What happens if a property investor or someone isn't financially protected? What's going to happen?
Well, when you get your monthly mortgage statements, it says at the bottom in capitals, if you do not keep up with the repayments, your property will be repossessed. And if you can't make the payments, they're going to take the property off you, and they're going to stick it in auction. And then, if you've got, especially with kids, if they're going to certain schools and catchment areas and things like that, and they're not living there anymore because you weren't protected. And again, my job is just to basically bring awareness. I don't like to scare people, but like we said,
but we have to be real though.
It's
scary, but if it's done, it isn't scary, is it?
True, but it's again getting people to think and then to want to think about it. Then I'll put it off, I'll do it later. But if you keep putting it off, the more older you are, the more expensive life insurance gets. So for example, an 18-year-old getting life insurance, if they've got good clean health, and a 7-year-old who's got good clean health, it's going to be way more expensive for a 7-year-old to do it than an 18-year-old. So it's like a diagonal. The older you are, the more expensive, and 2, the younger you are, the more insurance you can get. So 18 to 29, you can get 35 times your salary, right, within reason, which is a lot of money. But because the payments are so low because you're 18, you're again future-proof and planning for it. It's just people again aren't aware of that and to do it. But like we said on the episode before, we see people paying for funerals for GoFundMe and all these other sort of people who've got to chip in. It's like, if you have life insurance, people won't have to do that. You've got a plan, and you can say, look, I want you to pay off the mortgage, I want the kids to do X, Y, Z. If you want to use that money to buy more investment properties, it's up to you. So again, what I'm passionate, what I like about my job is it's not just necessarily talking about the financial protection, but getting people thinking and planning and getting their kids involved in, do you trust your family members with your kids if you went in? Or would you want someone else to look after them? So getting guardians to look after the children as well. And if you are having a guardian in your will, you should really be giving that person some life insurance to help with the money to raise your children, because no one thinks about that. So the example I gave last time was, if you've got 2 children and then you pass away and you're giving it to someone else who already has 2 children, especially in London, Imagine trying to raise 4 children all under the age of 7.
That's chaotic.
Yeah, and no one's giving you any money, so you're laughing, but it happens every day. It's just that no one will talk about it, right? And that's not great for all parties involved.
Yeah.
So again, if you plan it, especially with the guardian, like, look, if the worst was to happen, I want the kids to do X, Y, Z, and then obviously this is the money that's going to help them for their future. You know, everyone should have that conversation, and obviously we hope it never happens, but you never know. So with your point about perception, people are happy paying X amount on car insurance, and you know that doesn't benefit you.
Yeah.
Home insurance, are your valuables even worth what you think they are? Does that really benefit people in the long run? Probably not. But if you've got a tax-free lump sum that you're like, look, I want you to buy this property, or I want you to use this money to invest in this business, or invest in this asset, or whatever, it's going to help in the long run.
Yeah. So you basically, talk about the long run, you talk about the processes. Now, what is an average cost of a simple life insurance for, a non, business person, a non-entrepreneur, a non-property investor? What is the average cost of the average, person who is, for example, Kevin. Kevin is my business partner. He doesn't have a wife, doesn't have kids, but he's fully aware of the importance of financial protection. So if he wants to protect himself, should God forbid what's supposed to happen, what's going to be the cost of Kevin?
Good question. So I get this question the most. There is no average cost because it depends on your health. So your height, your weight, your BMI. Do you smoke? Do you not smoke? Do you drink? How many units of alcohol do you drink? For your job, is it a dangerous job? So for example, if you work on an oil rig, that's quite dangerous. You're a firefighter. That can all have different implications on how much your insurance is going to cost. So it's not a cop-out. Until I do the medical questions with you, and depending on what you earn, I'm not going to know. There is no, at this age, it's going to cost you X amount. Because again, you could have someone who's 55, who's healthy, and you could have an 18-year-old with a heart condition, right? The 18-year-old, that insurance might be more expensive, and 2, they might not even get covered. Because if you're high risk and you're not healthy, the insurance providers don't want the risk, so they're not going to insure you. So with insurance, with people always putting it off, even if you are of good, fit health, if anything happens to you medically, which I've had with some clients when they come back after a couple of months, you might not get insured. And then that's it. There's no coming back from that. If you've got a really bad medical condition, no one's going to insure you. So then you're just basically stuck. But that's why I always say the younger you are, the healthier you are, the cheaper it's going to be in the long run. It's always going to get more expensive the older you are.
Wow, great question. Great answer to that question. So I'm going to ask you 3 good questions, just to kind of get to, towards the end of this episode. So you spoke about, I'm going to sit down with you, I'm going to ask you the question. Is that the underwriting process? That's one. So if that's the underwriting process, what is underwriting? Right, that's one. 2, the next question I want to ask you is, what if someone has already got an insurance policy and they don't know the level of cover, or how can you actually help them to see what they've got if they've got the right policy? That's 2. And finally, number 3, what is the review process between the underwriting and, for example, for those who already got a policy, how can you look at it just to make sure, because a lot of people get cold calling every now and then, someone trying to sell an insurance policy, and most people buy it, right?
That happens.
What is that process of you trying to help them look at what they have, now tailor it to what actually they need, not what they want, not what they want, because obviously wants and need are 2 separate things.
So the first question with the underwriting, normally it's indicative, right? So I might do your medical questionnaire, put it through. Depending on the provider, they're going to have their own underwriters as well looking at it. So it can be a process where people think they put it off. So for example, I've got a client and we did the medicals in October, and she needed a GP, excuse me, she needed a GP letter, and the GP hasn't signed the insurance form yet, and we're still waiting for it for 5-6 months later down the line. So underwriting, depending on what you have, might take some time. Question 2, but if someone's already got a policy, so I will look at the policy to match what they need, right? So I've had clients where they've got one property, they bought 3 more, but they've still got insurance for the old property. That portfolio, that's all financial risk. It needs to be updated. So with point 3, the annual review, I will just check in to see if any life things happened. Have you had another kid? Have you had a pay rise? Have you got a new business? Have you bought more property? Because insurance changes as you change. So you, for example, your insurance in 3 years' time is going to be like 100 million, 300 million, because you're doing this. Like your insurance now might not match the needs then. It's not a negative thing because you're always doing the insurance as of now, right? And we try and plan it, but if something was significant to change, then yeah, we probably change it a little bit. You might get more, you might tweak it, you might want less, but I always advise my clients, always speak to your financial advisor, financial protection advisor. Don't just cancel it, because sometimes there's situations if you just speak to the providers, you can sort things out. And also if you cancel it and say I'll get it later, if anything happens to you in that, it's like basically having car insurance, right? That one time where you forget to renew it and you go out, you get pulled over or whatever, you're going to be in trouble. That one time that you don't do it. So I always say that if you are going to change insurance providers, make sure the new provider is live before you cancel the old one. Don't cancel the old one before you get the new one, because you might not get covered. Like let's say get stuck in underwrite, make sure the new provider is live before you cancel the other one. Don't just cancel it.
Great. So that means, should there be, if something was to happen, the old one will still obviously protect you to some sort of level.
Yes, correct.
So now, talk me through, what is the process of, your consultation, or what is the process of you trying to help someone get covered?
Right. So with my consultation call, I will explain all the products. It's not to tell you all of them, it's just so you know, right? Because it might be a case of maybe 3-6 months down the line, I'll get something a little bit later. So I'll inform you about all the products. I'll then sit with you to see what your plans are for the future with regards to your family, yourself and your business. We'll then get the product which is best for you, which will fit your budget as well and your strategy. We'll go through the medical questions. I'll tell you about trust as well ahead of time, so you understand what it means, and then you can think, okay, I want my brother and sister to be a trustee. Okay, I want my kids to be the beneficiaries. Oh, actually, I want my niece and nephew to benefit from the life insurance policy as well. Then I'll submit your application to whatever provider it is, and then I'll go live. And then we won't necessarily review the insurance every year. It's more me checking in, because it's trying to gauge of, we want to protect you now for as long as possible, but like I said before, things change. I might speak to you the year after and you've got another kid, and that changes everything. So I'll always be in contact to make sure that it's still fit for purpose, because you've got a lot of clients where they think they've done the right thing and they've taken the policy out, which they've done, but it's changed. And like 99% of my clients that have cover already, it doesn't match what they're doing now. Like you said, your example, what you were doing 10 years ago, you're not doing that now.
No.
Right, and the same thing with insurance. The insurance 10 years from now, again, the plan is to make sure we never change it. I check in, everything's cool, fine, I'll do that every year. But if something major happens in your life, okay, we need to review it. It might be the case of we reduce it. It completely depends. For example, let's say you won the lottery and you paid all your mortgages off. Okay, fine, we don't need it. But I need to check in to see what you need, really.
Yeah. Wow. So it's been such an amazing episode number 2.